When it comes to hack and slash ARPGs, the genre has clearly been dominated by two names for a very long time. Of course, I'm talking about Diablo III and Path of Exile, unarguably the biggest and most successful ARPGs at the moment, with years of polish, content updates, and massive player bases. I don't think that will change anytime soon, especially with both Diablo IV and Path of Exile 2 being on the horizon, but I will say that 2020 is looking like a pretty good year for fans of the genre who want something new to play. There's a few highly anticipated titles coming soon, and some pleasant surprises that we've learned about recently. Today I'll be going over the top 5 new ARPGs that are going to be playable in 2020. Now that could mean a beta, an early access, or the full release, but either way, you should be able to play all 5 of these games at some point this year. Before I go into the list though, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this word from today's sponsor, because I know everyone loves sponsors. I gotta pay my bills, just watch the damn thing. It's like a minute, okay? Today's video is being sponsored by Skyforge, a free-to-play action MMO where you get to play as a god. Pretty interesting action combat game. I actually played this a few years back when it first launched on PC. So they asked me to kind of come back and check out the game again and kind of tell you guys what it's all about. So let's talk about the features. There's 18 different classes with a variety of looks and play styles. One of the interesting things about this game is you can swap your class in-game on the fly if you want to try out different things. Each of the classes will have their own progression and whatnot. There's what they're calling a dynamic combat system. It's an action combat game with things like combo attacks, and there's PvE and PvP options depending on what you like, with over 100 different in-game locations. Now recently they added these things called Reaper invasions, which are these events with hordes of creatures emerging from the deepest trenches of the world. You fight them back during these invasions, and by completing special seasonal challenges, you'll gain access to new abilities, exclusive rewards, and followers. Now once again, the game is free. If you want to try it, go ahead and check out that link in the description below. Okay, so let's get into this list. Top 5 ARPGs in 2020. Kicking things off, we have got Corepunk, a top-down MMO action RPG. They're talking about a vast, seamless open world with a variety of diverse locations to explore, small towns in the wilderness, and large cities where you can pick up quests and meet other players. The game features 12 unique classes, each with 3 specializations to choose from, with their own unique set of abilities. You can customize your character between the weapons, artifacts you use, and picking talent trees that fit your playstyle. There's going to be open world PvP with a fog of war mechanic where you can sneak up on unsuspecting players. It will have endgame dungeons with group puzzles and boss fights. There's gathering and crafting, public transportation. One of the things that struck me the most when I first saw this game was that it looks to play more like a MOBA than a traditional ARPG, with slower, more deliberate movement and combat, especially when you compare it to titles like Diablo and Path of Exile. Now, the developer actually specifically addressed this in a separate video where they showcased that yes, the base movement and attack speed are on the slower side, but through equipment they can be significantly increased. And then they did a side-by-side comparison of a fight that was in the original trailer with this increased attack and movement speed. I would still say compared to the traditional ARPGs, it does appear to move a little bit slower, but I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. This game will be entering open beta in Q4 of 2020, and there will be a closed beta sometime sooner. This game is actually looking very well developed for something that we just learned about a couple of months ago, although I guess it shouldn't be too surprising because through a bit of research, I learned that this game has been in production for about 5 years now. Pretty nice surprise. This is not something that we've known about for years. We really just learned about Corepunk. I think there's still some people with some reasonable concerns, but overall, I'm liking this mix of MMO ARPG that they're talking about. Next on the list, we've got a game called Wolcen. Vulcan. I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure. This is a dynamic hack and slash ARPG that has a very dark gothic style. The combat in this game features weapon-based combos, stances, dodge and dash mechanics, and a willpower and rage resource system where you attack to build up resources and then spend it on specific abilities. The game will have a classless progression where you can build your character by selecting a path through 21 subclasses in a rotating passive skill tree. This is going to let you experiment with all sorts of different combinations and playstyles. There's gonna be over 40 skills, each with numerous modifiers. The game features these apocalyptic forms where you can transform into this avatar of destruction that has its own set of unique abilities. At launch, there will be a 3-act fully voiced campaign, over 75 different enemy types, 11 armor tiers, 11 weapon tiers, character customization, crafting, cosmetic armor tinting. The game's gonna support solo or co-op play, and this one's launching really soon, actually, on February the 13th. So this is interesting because this game has been in early access for quite a while now, and over the years, I've heard some pretty good things. Like, people have seemed excited for it, and checking it out on Steam, the reviews are overall pretty damn positive. So pretty awesome looking game here. Again, I like that kind of dark, gritty, gothic style that they're going for. Interesting ideas how they're talking about the classless progression system. I'm gonna continue to keep an eye on this, and it's cool that it's coming out pretty soon. Moving on, Magic Legends, an action RPG set in the Magic the Gathering universe. You can play as a powerful, spell-wielding planeswalker. There's gonna be 5 classes to choose from, representing the 5 different colors in Magic. Each of them will have 3 base abilities, a standard attack, special attack, and a movement skill, and then beyond that, combat is about casting spells and summoning creatures. As you play, you will be collecting spells, and then you can craft these 12-card decks that you take with you into battle, and at any point you'll have 4 active spells. You use one, it's shuffled back into your deck and replaced by a new one. It's a novel idea for a combat system. It just seems kind of weird that this idea that I'm gonna need to be constantly staring in the bottom right-hand corner to see what new ability replaced the one that I just used, whereas normally when you play games like this, all the time you know what ability is bound to what key. But in this game, the abilities bound to the keys or the buttons on your controller are gonna be constantly changing. But anyways, let's keep going. Spells in the game will cost mana that will be regenerating with time or can be refilled from orbs that drop in combat. The game has this director AI system that will scale the difficulty based on how well that you play. So the better that you're playing, the longer you're surviving, the harder the game's gonna get. We'll be traveling to various Magic the Gathering locations, such as the island of Shiv, and each one of these planes will equate to an open world zone where you'll go around fighting normal monsters, elites, bosses, doing quests, joining public events where you can encounter other players. And it is worth noting as well that this game is not procedurally generated. The maps are going to be handcrafted, which is cool when it comes to a design idea, but that also means that it could get pretty repetitive in a genre that has you tending to do the same locations over and over again. Typically, procedural generation kind of helps to keep that a little fresh, but we'll see what happens. Another interesting note for this one is there's no loot in this game. Instead of collecting weapons and armor, you're collecting spells and shards to upgrade those spells. And there was also some teasing about an artifact system. There's gonna be co-op with groups of up to 3. There will also be PvP through this 1v1 dueling system. It's really interesting. This game, I'm kind of on the fence by. I like some of their ideas, but I'm a little concerned about the combat with that, again, the randomness of the spells that are being drawn. So when I hit the one ability to cast my Wrath of God, it's replaced by another ability that I'm gonna have to look at rather than just intuitively knowing, okay, I know what is bound to 1 through 5 and shift 1 through 5, and then I'm just focusing on the actual combat that's going on because I know the spells that I have and where they're bound. This game is gonna require you to constantly be checking what new spells you have. I feel like that could be a problem, but I guess we'll just have to see how it plays when we get our hands on it. So beta signups are available for this game right now. You can register on the website, and it is planned to start at some point in 2020. Another big note that I should say about this game is that it's gonna be free to play and is being developed by Cryptic and published by Perfect World. Not exactly known for the best monetization systems. Really high odds here that we're gonna be paying for booster packs in this game. Basically loot box equivalent. The original loot box, Magic the Gathering booster packs. Next up, Minecraft Dungeons, a top-down action-adventure game inspired by classic dungeon crawlers. We're gonna be exploring and adventuring through the Minecraft universe, but from a brand new perspective. The game is gonna have what you expect from ARPGs. There will be gear, loot, character levels, an inventory system, variety of weapons, spells, and abilities. They say they're gonna support the traditional RPG roles, like you can be a melee fighter, a ranger, a tank, a healer, or a mage, but there will be no classes. Instead, you are what you wear. You'll find artifacts, weapons, and armor that you can then enchant to fit a preferred playstyle. So artifacts will be functioning like spells, they'll have abilities that you can activate to use, and then they'll be placed on a cooldown. Gear will have different rarities and power levels, as well as enchantments with unique effects that can be upgraded through these tiers, so changing roles is going to be as simple as just swapping the equipment that you have. As the name implies, we'll be going through dungeons, fighting hordes of enemies, there'll be boss fights, puzzles, and obstacles. Most of the levels in the game will be procedurally generated with a few handcrafted story sections. They're saying there's dozens of unique items and weapon enchantments to collect, a 2 to 4 player co-op with difficulty scaling for larger groups, and this one is launching this year on both PC and console. I know it's easy to say, haha, Minecraft, but this looks surprisingly good. Does not look bad, it doesn't look bad. We'll say that, it does not look bad. And then finally, the last game on today's list is Torchlight 3. You might be confused because not too long ago there was a game coming out called Torchlight Frontiers, and that was this game. It was supposed to be a free-to-play, shared world, persistent online game, basically an MMO ARPG hybrid. That idea, however, has been completely scrapped. It's going back to its roots with a rework and has been rebranded to Torchlight 3. It's now gonna be the traditional ARPG where you pick a class, go in and kill some monsters with an action combat system and skills and abilities, and collect epic loot. So some of the changes include the persistent shared world and online requirements have been removed. That has been replaced with the more familiar linear structure of previous games. The real world money shop is also gone. To make up for that, the game is no longer free to play, and it's a premium one-time purchase that will give players access to all of the game's content. They've also shifted from a horizontal progression back to a more traditional power climb. I mean, these are some pretty big changes that are coming primarily thanks to feedback that they got from alpha testers. Now, besides these changes, some other notable features include player forts that can be built up and customized. There's social hubs where you can hang out and group up with other players, and there will be new classes introduced to the Torchlight franchise, which will include the Dusk Mage, who commands the forces of darkness and light, the Forged, a mechanical class who uses steam power and unleashes explosions, the Railmaster, who builds train tracks apparently, and swings this really big hammer, and then recently we got a tease for the Sharpshooter, which will be the game's ranged specialist. So this game will be coming to PC this summer via Steam. It's kind of crazy, like a big overhaul so close to launch. We actually also saw this recently with New World making some massive changes, and I would say most of the time, changing so much about a game so close to launch would be cause for concern, but I really think that in this particular case, this is the right decision. There seems to be a lot of excitement around Torchlight Frontiers morphing into Torchlight 3. Pretty cool stuff. This was actually a really, really nice surprise. So yeah, there you go. Those are the top 5 upcoming ARPGs for 2020. Again, I'm not sure that this is gonna replace the big 2 that have dominated for so long. Even Path of Exile 2, the beta for that is supposed to be happening in 2020, but I didn't put it on this list because I wanted to talk about new ARPGs. Everybody knows about Path of Exile, and Diablo 4 is coming, but that's likely a long way off. I don't expect that will be playable this year at all. If anything, maybe at next BlizzCon we get the announcement of a couple more classes in the game. Maybe they tease a beta for 2021, but Diablo 4 is gonna be a little whiles away. It's actually shaping up to be a really, really good year if you're a fan of ARPGs. There's more coming out than I even had on this list here, but I think this list is good enough to say that if you like the ARPG genre, you got some damn good stuff to look forward to. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll probably be talking more about these games. I am looking forward to Minecraft Dungeons. That's probably one of the top ones on this list that I'm looking forward to. I mean, they all look pretty good though, so we'll check them out. All right, there you go. 5 ARPGs coming out in 2020. You gonna play them?